close to that mic. I'll get this out of your way.
A few days ago, I texted Bob, and I said to him, I promise not to embarrass you. And sure enough, then the rabbi asked me just before if I would introduce Bob, and so it's sort of a prime opportunity to embarrass him. So please help me partake in this, the joy of embarrassment. In honesty, Bob is my first cousin, and truly, honestly, one of my favorite people of all time. So, and I don't want to get too emotional because I have to be, introducing him, but I just want to say he's only a month younger than me, which we won't give away the age, but he's had a wealth of experience that's pretty amazing. To my recollection, he was going to be an English major in college. He had wanted to be a rabbi, actually, at one point. This is not formally in the description, by the way.
So none of these things surprise me.
No, he's falling asleep there. He's yawning. He went to college, went to law school, and worked in the law field for a while, and then got involved with the Federation. And I can't tell you how many years in 3 different jobs, I think, that you were in Florida and then the shore area before moving to this area and working in the Philadelphia Federation, where he was responsible for the development. And so that's pretty much all I want to say, but Bob will fill you in anymore, and we welcome my lovely cousin, Bob.
Yes, and Bob is giving one of our TAG talks, which is our version of a TED Talk. TAG standing for Torah, Avodah, Gemilut, Chasadim, learning, service, and acts of kindness. So you're just going to want to make sure that you speak into the mic and close to the computer so that they can all hear you.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Rabbi, thank you so much. We love you. I want to acknowledge one special person. First of all, thanks everyone who's here physically and those who are online. Thank you. But there's one special person here in this room tonight who deserves special praise, who's honored me with her presence. Zoe Goldstein, my granddaughter, who had a full week at school, who got a shot from the doctor today. So, and she's a Phillies fan, and she's here in shul on Shabbat. So, Zoe, thank you very much for that honor. And I also want to acknowledge Ellen Matz, a colleague of mine who has helped in my career in more ways than she knows. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to augment what my beautiful cousin Linda, who I thank, shared with you, just so you know, da lifnei miata omed, who is in front of you at the moment. There are many holy arks that have that phrase in front of it. Know before whom you're standing. And it's less about boasting, but it's more about, I want you to know that I know what I'm talking about. So as Linda said, I practice law, mostly estates and business. A lot of restaurant tours were clients of mine. But I wasn't fulfilled. So after about 15 years of law practice, I took a summer off. I went back to the summer camp where I had gone as a child, where I had served on staff for many years. That's Camp Ramah in the Poconos. And I ran the camp kitchen at age 33, feeding 400 people, 3 meals a day, special diets, canoe trips, midnight, cookie bake-offs, and all kinds of stuff. That summer, I decided that I was not fulfilled as an attorney, at least in that type of practice. And so I bailed out and took my first job, where I first connected with Alan Wallstetter, who's also blessing me by his presence tonight. I was assistant director at American Jewish Committee doing civil rights and human relations. I helped write Pennsylvania's hate crime statute, which provides added penalties for crimes that are committed with an added element of bias, prejudice, or hatred. And then I formed the Philadelphia Israel Chamber of Commerce. I was their first director. They still exist today. And then I went to Florida to start the Florida Israel Chamber of Commerce. And then I went to Jewish Federation in Miami to be their endowment director. And then I went to New Jersey to be the CEO of Federation in Atlantic Cape May County. The reason, and then I just retired from 12 years at Jewish Federation in Philly as their senior director of major gifts and their campaign director. So why am I boasting like this, just so that you know I've been here and there, small and large, within the Jewish community, and I know a bit about fundraising. I'm going to share 3 short snapshots about what it's like to be a fundraiser, and it's not about telemarketing, and it's not about Super Sunday. That is the least of the fundraising. And I want you to see if you can see a thread between those 3 stories. And then I'm going to finish with 2 Jewish teachings which did not occur to me were guiding me until about 10 years ago. First story, my first $1 million closed gift. I was in Florida. A man named Fred, his last name initial is A. I will not reveal names, but the first names are correct. So I knew Fred. He was a venture capitalist. He lived on Ocean Drive in Palm Beach. By the way, that's where a very famous past president lives. And I was to solicit him for a gift to the University of Miami, Hillel. I was nervous, but I knew him. I got the appointment, which is half the job as a fundraiser. I sat with Fred in his home, and I said, "You think I'm here to solicit you. My boss thinks I'm here to solicit you. But me ani, who am I? I am in no position to solicit you. Let me tell you about Jewish life on campus at the University of Miami." And I explained the blessings and the challenges that our Jewish youth were having on campus at that time. I left with a handshake, not knowing how it would result. I told them at the very beginning, this is a $1 million ask. This is the goal, 7 figures. A few weeks later, a check comes in the mail, just like the check that we used to write to pay utilities. A little tiny check from a checkbook for $1 million with a typed note from Fred A. that said, "This is much more than I intended to give, but I appreciate you're not giving me a song and dance. Fred." Story 1. Story 2, Michael, last initial A, largest contributor to Atlantic Cape May Jewish community. I solicit him every year. I'm sitting in his office to renew his gift. It's about a 6-figure gift. And this time, this year, after 3, 4, 5 years of soliciting him, I come into his office, and face down on his desk is the check already written that I was there to ask him to renew. So his decision was made before I sat down to talk with him. I thanked him for all the good his gift last year did, and I detailed it. And he slid the check across the desk when I was finished catching up with him, and he said, "This is where I'm comfortable giving this year." I took a look at the check, and I folded it and put it in my pocket. My former father-in-law used to say, if someone's giving you money and you're at the cash register, take the money and get it out of the sight of the customer. And so that's a good, I put the check away. It was $60,000. It was $40,000 less than his previous gift. I had an instant to decide how to react. I could have said, "Gee, this is a reduction from your gift last year. Do you think that you might contribute more or supplement this gift?" Or I could have said a sincere thank you. This is extremely generous. The community is indebted to you. So of course I thanked him and put it away and left, because had I gone the other route, there are many cases where the donor says, "Yes, I can do better. Give me that check." And you hear the sound of paper tearing, and that's the end of that relationship, because it's a clear line between being gracious and having chutzpah, right? Third and final story. I get a call from a colleague fundraiser who is the chief development officer for Shaarei Tzedek Hospital in Israel. Beautiful facility. He says, "Do you know a lawyer in Toronto?" I said, "No, but I could find a lawyer in Toronto. I have plenty of colleagues that could lead us to, what do you need a lawyer in Toronto for? He said, there's a donor that we solicited for $35,000 to redo a waiting room at the hospital and name it in honor of his parents who were Holocaust survivors. We redid the waiting area, we hung a picture of his parents, and he's not returning my calls, and he's not written the check, and I think he's avoiding me, and it's been 8 months, and I want to sue him for the pledge, and I have the written pledge. So I said to this colleague, okay, play this out with me. Do you think there's a Jewish newspaper in Toronto? And do you think it's good for Shaarei Tzedek to be in a headline that says Shaarei Tzedek sues Schwartz, whatever his name might have been, for 35 G's? And how good is that? How confrontational would this be? Well, what would you have me do? I said, did you find out why he's not giving you the gift? I hear the real estate market turned and he doesn't have the money that he used to have. I said, do you ever go to Toronto? He says, yeah, twice a year. I said, go to Toronto and thank him for trying. What do you mean thank him for trying? Tell him that you respect him through good times and bad times, and that you will be there when times turn around, and give him $1 million project. Tell him you're building a pavilion and you have a naming opportunity, and that's for him to aspire to a once-in-a-lifetime kind of achievement in the future. How are these stories related? And there are plenty of other stories. I'm going to finish with 2 Jewish texts that sort of tie it in, or Jewish teachings. One is, on Yontif we say a really mysterious phrase, and on holidays, and especially Yom Kippur, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, the attributes of God. It's a list of adjectives. And next time you see that in the prayer book, merciful, compassionate, gracious, forgiving, slow to anger, abundant in kindness and truth, for all time. If you aspire as a fundraiser to possess some portion of those adjectives, you are in very good shape. And finally, we are taught that the Messiah will come, likely in disguise, perhaps as a beggar. So if you treat every donor at any level, the kids that give a nickel out of their tzedakah box, or the 7-figure donor who's a flash in a frying pan who writes a huge check, if you treat them all with the respect and dignity as if they could be someone holy and you don't know it, then you're a good fundraiser. Rabbi referred earlier to 36, Lamed Vav. There's another story about the Lamed Vavniks, that the world will be destroyed an instant from now, but for the fact that there are 36 righteous people who are so righteous, they don't even know they're one of the 36. That's how you treat donors. So my final thought is, isn't that a way to live? Set aside a career in fundraising. Should we not be patient, slow to anger, compassionate, truthful in all of our human interactions? And shouldn't we treat everyone before whom we stand as if you are in the presence of the Messiah? Shabbat Shalom.
Why don't you just hang there for a second? I just want to see if anyone has a question or a comment. You're definitely getting rave reviews on the Zoom. Yes, Linda.
How do you handle telemarketers?
Oh, good question.
The entire landscape has...
Repeat the question.
How do I handle telemarketers? It is ineffective anymore. The concept of Super Sundays and telemarketing was something of value in the past, but it has now blossomed into an annoyance. So the answer is, I don't. It's necessary to a certain extent. So if you like to watch PBS or you listen to a nonprofit radio station, then you're going to respond to someone calling you once a year for, send in $100 and you get a cap or a pair of gloves. But the pyramid of giving is a very large base of modest givers. That's what telemarketing does. To sustain an institution requires fewer gifts at higher levels.
Wonderful. Oh, yes, I am.
Sam.
Not everybody can give a six-figure gift, but they're not a hedge fund manager. What if you give a three-figure gift, then you read in the paper, well, someone gave a $10 million, like it's going to feel like, well, why should I give $1,000 and this guy gave for me many times over? How do you fight that feeling?
So Sayana asks, when the society has a handful of very, very large givers that are very high profile, how does that impact the more modest, let's say, giver who would be inclined not to give because these large gifts are coming in? I referred to flash and fry in a frying pan. There are lots of once-in-a-lifetime givers who you'll see Penn or Drexel or something else or Children's Hospital. You need every gift at every level. And if you are questioning whether to give, then someone hasn't yet made the case to you why your $18 gift is invaluable. And so if you're building community, you want gifts at every level, and you want people to feel respected and euphoric about their gift at any level. So if you do a 5K walk for, let's say, Alzheimer's, and you have raised $200 and you walked 5K and you had 5 people walking with you, you feel fantastic. Mm-hmm. And that's the goal, is to make every person that gives feel that they're invaluable, and the truth is, you are invaluable.
What about people where they're dead, they're dying, it's in their will rather than giving while they're alive? Would you better give while you're alive and see the benefit of it?
So, Sayana follows up with, what about a testamentary gift, a gift in your will versus a lifetime gift? You think of a Trivial Pursuit game piece. Can you visualize that? It's a little plastic with little pieces of pie that goes in. The complete donor has a annual gift and a once-in-a-lifetime or an estate gift or an endowment gift. And while you raise that question, and we really should wind down, but I'm going to leave you one more thought because it's very appropriate. I am going to dispel the mystery right now about, well, what's the difference between an annual gift and an endowment or a planned gift? Here it is, and it has to do with Halloween. We, as fundraisers, trick or treat with 2 bags for candy. One is an annual campaign bag, and the other is a planned giving and endowment bag. The annual campaign bag, we invite you to give us candy, and we fill that, and we eat it all every year. And that bag is empty, and we come back to you and say, we are out of candy. That's the annual campaign. An endowment is we have a bag of candy. We collect as much candy as we can, but we have an eating policy, 5% of the candy a year. And so that bag never gets depleted, and we continue to trick or treat to overflow that bag. Kol Ami needs the membership in the annual campaign, and you also, if circumstances allow, ought consider something testamentary, something of a planned gift, if circumstances allow, because institutions need both of those components to survive. Shabbat Shalom. I'm a member forever, so continue to ask questions.
That's what I like to hear. Well, Shabbat Shalom to everybody. It really is, it is a testament to Bob, but also a testament to our community that everybody who showed up and that most people are actually still here. Well, so I'm going to wish everybody Shabbat Shalom, go Phillies, and please, if you're not rushing off to catch the rest of the game, please have a cookie and have a seat. All right, Shabbat Shalom.